So, in Slaven Bilic's words, David Sullivan likes to talk. He can come on the debate one evening.
You might be able to soon.
But, Charlie, is it wise to criticise the club's co-owner, as it appeared that Slaven Bilic was doing?
Well, it's never wise. But there becomes an area in the game where he's been scrutinised for the last 8 months at West Ham. They've had an absolutely disastrous start to their new stadium. There's not a good feel factor at West Ham at all. I take you further back, way back to the start of last season. West Ham were telling us, the board were telling us, they were going to spend 40+ million on a striker. And that striker was Lacazette, right? Never got close to him. Made an offer and made an inquiry. Soft touch. And I think Slaven's now reached the stage to say, do you know what? If I'm going to go out, I have to go out doing it my way. And if that means I'm disrupting somebody, then so be it. Slaven don't take prisoners when he was a player. He don't take prisoners in his previous jobs as a coach. He doesn't need to do this now. I think he's been more than patient with the owners to say, if you want to deliver, that's fine. If you want to take credit for some of the signings, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But you must get the players eventually that I want.
He wasn't joking there, Slaven, either. He looked serious, didn't he? He wasn't, when he was talking about the owners do like to talk a lot. They do like to talk a lot, but that wasn't said in jest. That was said by someone that actually I think was fighting his corner, that thought, I've had enough of this now. You know, the social media, the son of the owners on social media he talks a lot about who's coming in, what's happening at the club, and he probably has just had enough now. But he does need to win games of football, because the minute you turn on your owner publicly, for me, it's the start of the end, and it's a massive game on Monday night for him.
What would the motivation for David Sullivan have been to say, look, we turned down, or the manager, Slaven, turned down Renato Sanchez and Krychowiak? What could his motivation have been to say that?
I can't believe why he's gone public with that, because that almost... You look at the players that he's named, Sanchez, who's an outstanding player, Carvalho, who's an unbelievable player for Sporting Lisbon, somebody that I think West Ham need in the centre of the midfield. So to go out and say he's turned down these players, the West Ham fans are probably thinking, why? I just wonder whether he's trying to gauge the opinion of the West Ham fans against Slaven, or... look, it's a strange... And if I was a manager, I wouldn't have been happy with that.
What was it they said a couple of weeks ago? They were having a conversation after the latest bad result that he had at Newcastle, I think. And we've kind of all watched to see if there was something going to come of that. I think someone has come of that. I think Slaven said, if I'm going to go doing it my way, and if it's not good enough, then the exit door will be there for me.
Doesn't coming out and saying, look, you know, we could have had these two players and they haven't come here, and they've gone elsewhere in the Premier League to make matters worse, doesn't that just undermine your manager?
Of course it does. But they've been doing that since the day he walked in, and he's quite happy that he's accepted some of it. And for whatever reason, he might have got 1 or 2 out of a group of 8 that came in. And he's been waiting and let them accept some of the credit when they like to take it. There's no problem in owners having a conversation and coming out public and saying, because they're owners, they've earned the right to do that. But they don't always get it right. And the manager's the one who's carrying the can. Will the owner still be there in 6 months if the results are bad? You guarantee they are. Well, Slaven, absolutely not. Who will they turn against on Monday night if they go behind? Who are they going to turn on? The team and the manager.
A lot of the time, in fairness, the public want to hear from the owners as well. If you look at their transfer policy, though, Phil, it's not just missing out on Carvalho. Of their signings last summer, 10 signings, 4 of them are gone already. OK, and Snodgrass, that they signed in January, is gone already.
The recruitment for the last 12 months has been an absolute disaster. You've got to say, I mean, you bring in 13 players, you think to yourself, they're having a right go. They're spending a lot of money, they're having a right go, they're going to a new stadium. You think with that kind of recruitment, if they do it right, then you'd be challenging for a top 7, top 6 for a club like West Ham is very good. But I've got to say, like you say, 4 or 5 of their signings last year weren't up to scratch. And the performances this season haven't been up to scratch as well. I thought they recruited well this summer. You know, Joe Hart, Zabaleta. They brought in good characters, and Altovic up front on his day can be a match winner. I thought they brought in decent characters for that dressing room, which I thought they needed. But they still haven't started the season well. And I think Slaven, out of any manager in the Premier League, I think he's the most under pressure.
Now, I mean, we talk about recruitment, but I mean, surely that, you know, whoever does the recruitment, whether it's the owners or whatever at West Ham, surely Slaven's got to take some responsibility. He must have an input.
No, absolutely. He's got an input, but it's where he's wanted to force it through. You know, the best partnerships on the planet was David Dean, Arsene Wenger, David Gill and Fergie. And it works. And eventually, even Sam Allardyce, who wasn't particularly that welcomed to West Ham, He knew how to manipulate a situation that says, look, Mr. Chairman, that's fine if you quite like such and such, but I want this guy, and I need him for this reason. That's fine. But Slaven, I think he's let them get away with it, and it's been a soft, easy, let's get along with it, we'll be fine, don't worry, this is West Ham, we'll all be okay. Because his first season was stunning, ever since then. I mean, I bumped into Snodgrass in Heathrow after he got the move to West Ham. He was chuffed to bits. He couldn't believe how lucky he was joining a big club. I play in the right, and I can get service in there to Andy Carroll, and I thought, you're tailor-made for West Ham. And then he turns up and says, he plays them in the left. And it was just so... It wasn't Slaven signing. That's just the way it came across.
I mean, but, you know, in the case of Carvalho, for instance, and Slaven makes it clear that he wanted him, but if the owner's valuation is significantly lower than that of Sporting Lisbon, they're right to stick their guns, aren't they?
Yes, they are. But then again, you still have to run this by the manager. If the manager says, you have to go and get me. But West Ham must convince themselves, Jeff. They can't just play this game that says, we're going after a £40 million striker. We'll ask, but we won't do the deal. Don't ask. Get a deal done. What Slaven needs and West Ham need now is deals to be done, recruitment, make decisions, get the manager happy, and then he's got no excuse.
But in their defence, Phil, as you mentioned, really, I mean, they have spent big money. If you go back to the likes of Andy Carroll, as you said, £20 million or Arnautovic, or they brought in Javier Hernandez for £16 million. They've not been reluctant to spend.
No, and like I say, I think they've recruited well this summer, but I still think they're recovering from the poor recruitment last season. Bringing in 13 players that didn't gel, 4 or 5 weren't up to the standard of the Premier League, and I think Slaven suffered for that. But like I say, the recruitment this summer, I think, has been more probably Slaven saying, I need characters in the dressing room. So they brought in good characters. Chicharito is a good character. Joe Hart is a good character. Zabaleta is the best professional that you'll ever want to work with. So he's brought in good players this summer, but it still doesn't feel right. Everything about West Ham, to me, doesn't feel right since they went to that new stadium. It seems they've lost that unbelievable spirit that they had at Upton Park, and they need to get that back quickly. If not, then they're going to be slipping down that league.
I mean, Phil reckons that Slaven is more under threat than any manager in the Premier League.
I forgot about Frank de Boer.
Yeah. Yeah, joint favourite, shall we? Look, I mean, can he survive a defeat by Huddersfield? It would only be 4 games in.
I would stick by Slaven because I do think he's got the makeup and the personality to bring it through. I think the recruitment has been better this summer. But I just feel now that that line that he says, that wasn't true about those signings. That's quite and you say the seriousness of how he had to handle that press conference today. That was quite damaging. I don't see a long-term future with this relationship.
And you feel as well that David Sullivan's already been wounded this week by the comments coming out at Sporting Lisbon saying, oh, West Ham were never really interested in signing Carvalho anywhere, and people from the club calling, you know, Sullivan and Gold, you know, pretty awful names and the such like. So he's got his own reputation to defend, hasn't he?
And I think that's what he's doing now, Slaven. I think he realises he's under severe pressure, and I think for the first time probably in his West Ham reign, he's come out and actually backed himself and said, look, I'm going to do it my way now. Because the owners, they do talk a lot, but, you know, I'm an owner of a football club and I put the money in, so I earn that right to actually have my say whenever I want to talk. But ultimately, when the manager comes out in a press conference going against the owner who's put up that money, look, there's only one winner, and it's not going to be the manager.
Yeah, so as an owner of a football club, if your manager was to come out and say something like that about you, what would you do?
I wouldn't be happy, and I would be questioning whether he's going to continue as manager. That's my honest opinion. If you've backed him in the transfer market for the last 2 seasons, and you've brought in the players that manager wants to bring in, and publicly goes out against your wishes, whether it's right or wrong publicly, then I think I'd be considering his position as an owner. As a manager, I hope he gets a lot of time because I've got a lot of time for Slaven Bilic.